Hello, incredible friends. I'm coming to you this Saturday morning with a quick tutorial. I want to show you a couple of cards, a masked technique. This is one, I actually made two of these. This one is in with the black embossing powder, and this one was with the white. And I wanted to show you guys how to mask and how to emboss and how to make this cute Valentine's card if you're looking for a quick idea. And so we're going to do a quick tutorial today, and to get you started you're going to need a card base. This is the Berry Burst color, and I'm also going to use Berry Burst ink and the Sweet Sugar Plum. And then you'll also need a couple of sponges. Stampin' Up! Sells these. I think there's 3 in a package, and they're just circles, and when I get them I just cut them up into like 4 to 6 pieces, and you know, you can see this one's well used. This is stained. I will tell you, when you wash these, I just use soap and water. They will stain, but they don't, when you wash them, it won't rub off on your next project, as long as you wash them really good. The stamp set that we're using for this particular card is the Ribbon of Courage. I love this stamp set. It's really versatile, but we're using this image and probably this little tiny heart as well. Yeah, I'm going to use these two. And the sentiment that I used on this card was the sending love and hugs to you. But I might do something different. Actually, I am going to do something different on this card I made for you today, but this is the stamp set that I used for this. So, and the other thing you're going to need is a Post-it note. Now, I just took, these are the longer pages, and I just took, this was one, and I just took it and I tore it so that you get kind of an uneven, you know, mask here. And I am going to then flip the camera down and we'll get started. And hopefully you guys can see everything I'm doing here. Let me get this down just a little bit more. Get this set up for you. Okay, so to start with, I'm going to place my mask where I want it. And I'm going to use this grid paper just a little bit to hold things in place. And I want my mask, I want the hearts to be kind of in the center of the card. So I'm going to go ahead and leave about that much room here. That's for the bottom panel. And for this top panel, I'm not going to cover up as much up here. I am going to do that about like so. Okay, and then to get started, I'm going to start with the lighter color, which is the Sweet Sugar Plum. I'm going to move my card base out of the way here so I don't get this. And I'm going to take my sponge and just dab it into the ink and just lightly start laying on the ink. Now, this takes a little bit of, I'm left-handed, so let me move this over here. This takes a little bit of patience. You don't want to, you want to kind of go in circular motions, and you want to start off on your paper and then work your way down, because if you put too much ink on in one spot, it'll be hard to blend it. So just go slowly. Like I said, this particular, whoop, and I just moved my card, so that might mess me up a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, and this is an example. Some people would use washi tape and tape this down. I think I can do a pretty good job of just holding the paper and the card in place. But again, we're just going to be laying on our color here. Like I said before, just be patient with this one. The second color, I'm only going to use 2 colors. The first card I did on this, I think I used 3 colors, but I didn't like the particular combination that I had, and haven't found anything the right shade of pink for the lightest. So I'm just going to use these 2 colors. And just keep being patient here. It does take a little time. I've made a bunch of Valentine's cards this week. I have a bunch of nieces and nephews and friends, that I want to send cards to. And so I wanted to be able to share these techniques with you as well. Now, just going to keep on layering here. I don't know about where you guys are, but here it's a rainy Saturday, so it's a perfect day to be indoors. And after this, I gotta hunker down and do some housework. And I also mentioned while I'm doing this, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them. I'm not really able to film this video and look at the comments at the same time, so feel free to leave questions, comments at the end, and I will follow up and answer any questions that you might have about this process. All right, so I think that's pretty good for this first layer of color. I'm going to go ahead and take that off, and I'm going to grab my Berry Burst color and another sponge, a second one, and I'm going to start from the bottom. And this one is a darker color, so this one should go quicker. But we just want to, again, just start blending in circular motion from the bottom up. Whoop. And yeah, see, I got a little bit too much ink there, but that's okay. We'll just work to blend it. It is harder when you get too much ink, but we're just gonna be a little patient here and keep blending. I think I want a little more through this middle section here. Okay, and I think that I like that pretty well. So I think I'm done with my sponging on here. So I'll close this ink pad up and put these to the side. And if you saw earlier in the week, I did a blog post with this card as well. This is a little bit different. This technique is masking. On this one, I didn't mask, but you can see using sponges how you can blend the different colors. So this is similar, but a little bit different. So on this one, once we're done, we're just gonna peel off our mask here. And I'll put those away. You can use these again over and over and over. So, well, until they get where they're too curled at the edges and messing up, but you can use this more than once. So, okay, so next, I'm gonna use my heat tool here, and I'm sorry, but this does make a little bit of noise, but you just wanna make sure that your ink is dried on the card before you go any further. So I'm just gonna hit this with a heat tool and make sure that it's set. And I think that's probably good, so we're gonna stop. Now the next thing you wanna do is you wanna take your embossing buddy, and this is a great tool. It has like a powder in it, and you don't see the powder when you rub it against your card, but it keeps your embossing powder from sticking in the places that you don't want it sticking. And if you don't use this, you'll notice a big difference. But again, you first want to let your ink dry, and then you want to use your embossing buddy to rub this powder over. And then we're going to take our Versamark ink, which Versamark is like a clear, now my ink pad's kind of dirty here, but it's fine. It's a clear ink, and we're taking the heart from this Ribbon of Courage stamp set, and we're gonna just ink it up. And I am going to also use my piercing mat. This was the mat that comes with a piercing tool, but it's really good for stamping. So I'm gonna just put that under my cardstock here, and I'm gonna ink it up, and then I'm going to just stamp. And when you stamp, you want to make sure that you're going straight down and straight up. And then with Versamark, you probably can't see this on camera, but it's a clear ink, So in order for me not to stamp on top of it, I'm going to use this little flower now. And I have to kind of pick it up and make sure I can see where I last put my other mark, because I don't want to stamp on top of what I just did. So I'm just going to go all the way across the card like that. And that's looking good. Then I got this little flower here. I think I'm going to put that down here. And I'll do one more heart. And again, I'm just stamping this in the Versamark, lifting my paper so I can see where the stamp is, and then this one I'm gonna do just like that. Okay, so you can't see it in the moment, but you will in just a second. So I'm gonna close up this Versamark pad, get my inks out of the way, and then I am going to, today, for this particular card, I am going to emboss in this black powder. I'm gonna get rid of the Stampin' piercing mat as well for the moment. And I have a scrap piece of paper here, which is great for when you're embossing. You kind of, if at all possible, use a scrap piece of paper is my recommendation. But anyway, I'm just gonna sprinkle this powder over this card and over the masked section that we did. And then I'm just going to shake it a little bit so that it covers all of the stamped images. And then tap off the excess. Now, you can just kind of tilt all of this and then flip it back into your jar. Okay? Now, I will now set this scrap piece of paper to the side as well. And whenever you're embossing, it is inevitable you're going to get a little powder in places. I don't have one out right now, but one quick tip is to use a Swiffer, like dusting thing. They work really great at picking up. Now, if you can notice, actually, there's one little bit on my card that didn't get covered, so I'm going to go back and pour. So one thing about Versamark ink is it takes a little bit longer for it to dry, which is good because you have more time to play with this. There's one little spot that didn't get inked, or not inked, but didn't get powder stuck to it very well. So now I can just take this, and if you notice, there's a few little specks here of powder in places that I don't want. So you can just take this is a little tiny paintbrush. Now actually here, the stuff here on the bottom, I could just take my finger and kind of brush it off. But as you get up here where there's ink, you gotta be a little more careful because you don't want to rub off the sections that you really need. Now, in this stamped image, there's a couple of little places where the edge of the stamp pad caught some of the Versamark. So again, you can just use your little brush and brush those away because you don't want that. And that's what happens when you rock your stamp. And some of the little stamps, it's really hard not to have this happen a little bit. But anyway, this is why you can use a quick brush here and get all that excess off so that when you emboss, you get this clear, pretty image. Okay, I think that's good. And I do have powder over here, but that's okay. We'll clean up later. Now, this, again, I'm gonna make a little bit of noise because I'm gonna heat set this. And we'll just, with embossing powder, you know that it's set when it turns kind of from a matte to a shiny. So you're looking for the shiny to come out, and here it goes on this piece. I don't know if you can see that on camera. And it can take a little time, a minute or so, for your heat tool to warm up. I actually had warmed this up before I started the video, so it was pretty good to go. I'm also going to heat it from the back a little bit. If you start to see your paper curling, especially, you can heat set it from the back as well. I think that's pretty much done. And I still have a stray powder piece or two. And then there you go. You've got that card. Now, I am going to end up doing, then I can just adhere it. Well, I would recommend stamping your sentiment. For this card today, I actually think I'm going to change up what I did from the one that I did yesterday. And I'm just going to use this. I have this Love You stamp, which comes from the Bloom and Love stamp set. And so it's the sentiment that just says love you. And I think I'm just going to stamp in Berry Burst just below. I got that a little bit crooked. I got it a little bit crooked, but that's okay. It's not too noticeable. Anyway, we've got that. And then you can just take your snail and we'll just adhere this to the back of, or to the card base. And then, excuse me if my head is in the way, I can't see if the camera's, all right. And there you have it. That's how you do this mask technique. Now, I want to show you some other cards, and I don't want this video to be too long, so I'll do this off camera. But I use these rhinestones. If you can see on this one, I use these rhinestones, and I had this greeting that I just sponged and cut it out with the stitched framelits. I love these stitched framelits. If you don't have these are a must-have. I mean, it's got the ovals and the circles in this one, and there's another panel that I have that has the squares. But and again, this one was with the white embossed powder. But I really think I like the black embossed powder for this one. Just, it seems to show up better. But anyhow, you can use these rhinestones to just place wherever you want them on your card. Now, I also, since I've got you on camera today, I also want to show you some of the other cards I've made this week that were for Valentine's Day, and then we're going to show you one more quick card that would be cute for a kid. So this was what I called the tie-dye. So this was just a panel in Whisper white cardstock, and I used, I believe it was Berry Burst, Tempting Turquoise, and Daffodil Delight. And you just sponge your ink. You start with the lightest color, which would, in this case, would have been the Daffodil Delight. You sponge it sporadically where on the panel, wherever you want it. And then I went to the turquoise, Tempting Turquoise, and then I went to Berry Burst. And then this one is embossed with silver embossing powder. And then this is the Berry Burst metallic edged ribbon. And then I used the, I think this was the layering ovals. It's on my blog if you want to check out my blog at InkredibleTechniques.com. And there's also a post on the Facebook page from earlier this week. So that was one card I did. And then this one is another one that I did. This one was really quick and simple as well. You just take a strip of designer series paper, and I used the Sweet and Sassy heart framelits to cut out 2 of the small hearts here. And then I used a larger size of the hearts from that same framelit set to cut out 1 heart each in Melon Mambo and Rich Razzleberry. And then I adhered this all together, obviously. I used dimensionals to pop up these 2 hearts. And then I used, to get this kind of glittery look that you see, I hope that's showing up on camera, I used this Wink of Stella brush. And it's really, if you haven't used one before, it's really cool. You just kind of push the tip until you see the glitter come here to the end, or into this barrel, and then you just brush. And I added several layers. You just brush, you let it dry, see if you like it. Same thing on here, I just brushed it all over and let it dry. It's great because it gives it that glittery look without the mess. This is not the type of card where glitter goes everywhere. So this is really great if you haven't tried that. Again, this is the Wink of Stella brush, and this one is the clear. I think they do have other colors, but this one is clear. So those are some of the Valentine card projects that I've made this week. And I also want to show you this other quick one that I made. Now this was for a child at Valentine's Day. So that's why I have love you. But I also want to show you that you could quickly make this card, and whether it's Valentine's Day or a birthday, you could make this card for anything. So I've already done some of the work here, but this was sort of my bonus project that I wanted to share with you this morning. I have a real red card base, and then I've got 2 strips of designer series paper. Actually, these 2 are retired, but you could just use any paper that you have on hand. This one strip is cut at 3/4 inches by 5.5, and the other one is at 1 inch by 5.5. And then I used the Night of Navy cardstock behind it, this one at 1 inch and that one at 1 1/4 inch. And adhered all that onto the 5.5 by 8.5 card base, which was then scored at 4.5. I mean, scored at 4 1/4, sorry. So, and then I've used, this is using the Bella and Friends stamp set, and it's really cute. And again, you could use this for birthday, just about anything. But I've already stamped this little bird with the heart, and which is this image right here. And then we've got the cute little dog, which I'm using this image right here. I've already stamped them. And I just want to show you, if you haven't been introduced yet to the Stamp and Blends, love these. Love these, love these. And I'll show you how they work. So each color combination has 2 pens, a light and a dark. And this is the cherry cobbler that I'm starting with, and I'm using the fine tip point for this because it's a small item that I'm coloring in here. And I will be doing more videos and demonstrations with these Stamp and Blends, but just to give you a quick idea of how you can use these, and they just work really lovely, and they're so pretty. And now in this card, this one won't be the great example to show you for true blending, because I'm really just using these mostly to color in. I can do a little bit of blending on the bird. So that one was Cherry Cobbler, and it was the dark one. This one is the, let's see, make sure I get you right. This is the Dark Daffodil Delight. So again, this is the dark one. And I'm coloring in the bird's beak with this one. And I'm just going to do a quick, I want his beak to be yellow. Okay. Now, if you think that's good, I got him in there. Now for the bird's feathers, I'm going to use Pool Party, and I'm going to start with the light, and each blender pen has a fine tip, or sorry, I forget what they call this, like the brush tip end, a thicker end, and then a fine tip end. I'm going to use the brush end for just, well, in parts of this. In part of it, I'm going to use the fine tip. But if I start here with the middle of his body with these feathers, I'm going to color this in. And this stamp did kind of go out the lines here on the stitched framelit, but that's okay. So I'm just coloring in his feathers. And as I get closer to his eye here, I'm going to switch over and use the fine tip end. And when you use Stamp and Blends, another thing to know about these is when you store them, they need to be stored flat, like this. Don't store them like that. You want this. Otherwise they dry out, and you don't want that. You don't want a dried out marker. Okay, so I've got a little bit of blue, and again, this is the lighter one, and I can go back over it. But to give him a little bit of depth and dimension, I'm going to now use the darker shade, and I'm going to use the fine tip point, and I'm just going to kind of outline him anywhere these darker, the ink goes. I'm just going to make his feathers dark here, I'm going to make his feathers at the top of his head a little bit darker. And then you can just keep going over it till you get a little bit of, I'm kind of just following the lines of his feathers there. Give him a little bit there, give him a little bit of a shadow effect. Okay, so that's good. I'm happy with that. And you may not be able to see it on camera, but in person you can really tell. I'll hold it up for you. You can really tell the difference where the light and the dark ink are. And as this dries, it'll darken up a bit. Now I'm not gonna, well, I am gonna do one little thing with the dog. I am going to use a brush in. Now this is just a regular marker that I have, and this is Crumb Cake. And I'm just gonna use my brush, and I'm gonna give him just a little bit of character here around his one eye. Just to add a little bit of something there to him. So I've done that. And then all you would have to do on this particular card, I think I'm going to turn it into a birthday card. So I'm going to, on here, I just stamped the love you and then did a banner cut. But for this card, I think I'm going to turn it into either a get well or happy birthday. I'm going to wait and decide on this one. But all you would do is use your Stampin' Dimensionals, which are these, and you would just adhere that to the back and then pop it up wherever you want it on the card with your sentiment. You could do your sentiment down here, or you could do another circle and have it up here. You got lots of options, but anyway, again, you can kind of get an idea of what it would look like. So that's just another, this is another really quick and simple card, but look how cute that is. If you've got a kid that you need a Valentine card for, consider this one. It's really cute, really quick. All right, well, I will hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you next time. Bye.